Work. Good thing we do woodworking and not tech.
Talk to somebody and say, hey, hello, we are back.
All right.
Curly Mo and Larry be back on the JLB. Hand me the remote. See if I can get the TV to come up.
All right.
How do we refresh this?
I think you got something else going on up there.
Okay. So let's see if we can.
Promise you guys, we are going to get started at some point. Good thing this is the first live.
So there I'm on the TV. How do we get it to play live up there? Full disclosure, this is my first guild meeting while wearing a bathrobe. Well, hey, Bob, that's more than I need to know, man. But we're glad to have you out there anyway.
Bob, the key is to turn with that bathrobe on when you're on that lathe. Then you know you're a full-time woodworker.
Okay, we're still 12 minutes out yet, so we've got a little bit of time here. We're going to try to get this to come up live on the television for monitoring. None of that is us. Where did we get there? I don't know. So
why don't you go to your, do you have it underneath your channel? You can probably go to your channel and maybe pull it up and then see if, bring your whole channel up.
There we go. There's the channel.
Live now, right here. We'll go up.
Live now.
There you are.
There we are. My God, we got it.
All right, problem 2 solved.
And that's going to be a little bit on the delayed. So that's delayed by a couple seconds. Oh, so let the interesting part of the morning continue.
So the ride up here was a lot of fun. We've got blowing, drifting snow going across the road with about 45-mile-an-hour gusts of wind, and the roads are icing over as we speak. So,
hey Bob, can you hear this? And if so, would you please indicate in the chat down there that our audio is quality? You need to put your. Oh, I got to pull my chair up a little bit. That'll make a difference. So we're about even.
There we go.
Okay, Bob Betts or Musings and Makings, can you hear us out there? What's our audio like? Give Wes a call. Call Wes again, because he'll be listening in to make sure we have adequate audio.
All right.
And I'm going to move this over just a touch. Change this just a touch. There we go.
How's the audio? Hello?
Why did the computer all of a sudden go down?
Actually, the stream is on his television. We're watching it live up there, and what's on the laptop
is the chat.
How do you update it? How do you refresh it?
I don't know.
Exit out of the box. And go back to your channel. And then open it live again where you're at now, I believe. Okay. It says chat's disabled for this live stream.
Well, we can see it moving on there, so we got to have something going on. Live. That's a good thing. Captions available.
People are chatting on here right now, he said.
Okay, and we are not seeing any of those.
Yeah, we're not.
Hey guys, we're working on some technical issues at this point, trying to make this whole thing cooperative. We're going to go down here to the live stream. We've got that going on.
Yeah. He wants to talk to you real quick.
Hey, Wes. No, I clicked the live stream, so I've got the live stream coming on. I can see, yeah, we can see it's looking at the computer. I cannot see the chat. Oh, back up, edit.
Okay, there it is.
Join the conversation. 13, now chatting as of 5 minutes, live chat. Join the conversation. I can't seem to get the chat to show up. 13 watching now. Okay, let's go all the way back out of this. We're completely out now. We're going to start YouTube back up. Okay, for those of you that are biased, okay, there I am on the page, and there is the live. So I'm clicking on the live. The live is coming up on the screen. Okay, there's our chat.
All right, B Noble says I can hear.
Now if we take that and go Control plus again, Wes, it looks as if we are full on the screen. I'm trying to get it to scroll. Top chat.
Okay. I think it's blown up so big.
Okay, I got to get out of all this somehow. I'm seeing Walt and I on the screen. And there's the top chat.
There we go.
There's chat. There we go. We've got it on there
clear.
now.
Good morning from York, PA, too. I like that, huh?
Yeah, Lloyd's back. That's good. Yeah, so I think we're good here, Wes. We're seeing the chats and they're populating on the screen.
I might make them smaller so you don't have to scroll for each one of them.
Yeah, I got that. So, okay, so we can simply scroll down the screen here to see what everybody's got to say this morning. Or will it automatically advance itself and scroll down? Okay, so let's go. Let's make it just a touch smaller. So we did there. Okay, turn it to the right. Okay, I think we're good. Precision Woodcrafter is on here. Good morning from South Jersey. Cool. We're on the ball. We're 4 minutes from launch. Cool. Thanks, Wes. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys for your patience out there, ladies.
And Wes is saying turn it right just a little bit. And did that make the difference, Walt?
It's good.
All right. Well, I seem to think that we're in the ballpark. So, what do you guys think of all this? It's kind of crazy for us. First time going through and doing it like this.
Definitely had time to go grab some coffee while we were doing all the technical stuff.
All right. So, as is our wont, we typically launch right at 8:30 in the morning, so we'll be doing that here soon.
Good morning, Kathy.
my honey's upstairs watching us this morning. So, Mr. Noble, thank you for being on here. And thank you for following along and telling us how we're doing here. He says, well done, guys. So we're working on it. And as is habit with our guild, we start promptly at 8:30 in the morning. So with that, we'll be underway shortly.
Yeah, so I was saying on the weather on the way up here, it's crazy. I wonder if everybody else is getting the same weather we are, because we were at, I don't know, probably about 45-mile-an-hour gusts today, and the snow's blowing across the road and freezing back over, and it's a mess out there today.
Pretty crazy. And this is exactly why we tried to do this meeting this way instead. Look at this. We've got somebody from Australia. Tom Katz is coming on watching us from Australia. So I guess we could legitimately say that now that Joe Nieswander is on with us,
hey, Joe,
we have taken the Fredericksburg Area Woodworkers Guild worldwide. Somebody watching all the way from Australia at 9:30 on Saturday night.
Thank you, Australia.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Somebody else that's coming on from York, Pennsylvania, minus 20 degrees with wind chills out there. So it's chilly time of the season. Good to be inside where it's warm. So we'll be underway here in about 5 minutes. Clock on the computer is saying 8:25, and we launch promptly at 8:30. So we'll be underway shortly, and we'll hope we have some good information for you guys this morning. And if you do have questions, pop them into the chat down there, and we'll try to watch out for those as best we can and answer them when we can. And here we've got
watching from Mount Baker, Washington.
Mount Baker, Washington, all the way across the country.
Wow, that's awesome.
You're on the West Coast. We're very much on the East Coast. We're 2 hours from the Atlantic Ocean. I see Rob and Darlene are on there. That's great. 37 degrees here in Mississippi. Cold weather for you guys.
Spring is around the corner.
Yeah.
Can't get here soon enough in my
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I talked to my brother the other day up in Minnesota. The temperature was 15 below zero and the wind chill was 44 below zero, and they were bored, so they were going shopping. Good morning, Cindy. How are you this morning? This is pretty cool, huh?
All right.
It's cold in Central Florida as well, 38 degrees this morning. So with that, why did our screen just go blank? We can't have that happening. Well, Walt, are you ready to go?
Get it rolling. Let's get it going. Morning, everybody. Morning from Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Yeah, good morning and welcome to the February edition of the Fredericksburg Area Woodworkers Guild. And out of an abundance of caution, we have decided that we would hold our meeting virtually this morning. We normally have it in a facility a couple miles south of here, a place called Holiday Construction here in the Fredericksburg area, and they're kind enough to host us. But with the inclement weather that we've been experiencing and the snow and ice and the cold, we decided that it would be in the best interest of not risking our members and having them go out and try to attend a meeting live and in person with the ice and the snow in the parking lot. And it turned out to be a rather fortuitous decision because we made this decision, I believe it was Tuesday of this week, and advertised it. And then when it came time for one of our members that had gotten the email, he called up and said that he was not going to be able to be in attendance because he had fallen on the ice and had a pretty significant injury to his leg. So Mike, that normally takes care of our setting up facilities, we'll keep him in our prayers this morning because he's had a tough morning, or a tough week rather, getting recovered from that. So we're here live in my shop. I'm Tim Eggers with Highwheel Woodworks, and this is Walt Lennar with the DreamWorks Wood Shop. So obviously we're here to host our meeting this morning and get it underway. So we'll teach you a little bit about the Fredericksburg Woodworkers Guild and about what each of us does, and trying to get our
chat back up again.
Our chat to come back up again. And of course it decided it didn't want to cooperate. There we go. I think if we just leave that there, it'll scroll by itself.
Good morning, Sandy.
Yeah, so again, if you got comments, leave them in the chat. We can monitor those here this morning. But we are the Fredericksburg Area Woodworkers Guild. We've been doing this for about 14 years now. and we all come together and we gather because we have a commonality of interest and experience and passion, and our interest is primarily in making things with our very own hands. And we've all got a variety of skills in woodworking, that we've got a variety of experiences, and we all enjoy making things with our hands. And it just so happens that the creativity that we have manifests itself on wood. So we make things out of wood and out of trees. And we like to say that the medium of expression for our creativity just happens to grow on trees. So we have a short-term goal of making new friends in woodworking and learning from each other. And everybody comes to our organization, which is a completely voluntary group. All volunteers make this thing work and make it run. Everybody comes here on a level playing field. The person who's a great cabinet maker might not be able to turn a pen. So if the cabinet maker wants a pen made, he can connect with the pen maker. And the person that's not so good at finishing can connect with the people that are good at finishing. So it's level playing field. We share a lot of experience, and our really short-term goal is to leave this day as a better woodworker, but more importantly, a better connected woodworker. We have long said that the thing that's more important than this is, or more important about this organization, is making connections, and that's more important than making sawdust. But our hope today is that you will leave this experience as a better woodworker than when you arrived. So on the day when that doesn't happen, and we're not having this become a value-added proposition, the day that happens will be the last day that we do this. So we're at it for 14 years, as I said, hoping that it'll continue for a long time. Long term, we'd like to create awareness of this particular geographic area, which is going worldwide now, I guess you could say, as a destination for fine woodworking. So we want to educate the population, both locally and regional, that woodworking is something that can be done, and it's done in a significant way here in our area, the Fredericksburg area. And we want people, when they think of woodwork or having a particular woodworking project made, we want them to think that they can come to Fredericksburg, connect into our community, and satisfy their woodworking needs, whether it's learning woodworking, buying, selling tools, or having a custom-made project done for them. So that's what we do. Our membership has always been very, very loose, in that we don't do a membership application. We don't do dues, anything like that. We look at it as, if you want to be a member of this, you'll show up at our events and you'll participate. And participation is real easy. Examples are, some people come in and help set up the chairs, so we've all got a place to sit. That's Mike McVeigh is always our first guy that shows up, and he sees to it that we all have a place to sit. Other people will get on and do a short shop tip. Sometimes they'll do a featured demo, and sometimes they'll teach some skill sets here in woodworking, and also a variety of opportunities to contribute. And of course, that's where that value-added proposition comes in. We look at it as, if people are going to spend their time on a Saturday morning, they have to leave here with value for the time spent. So it's always a value-added proposition. The one thing that we will ask people to do is to volunteer and connect and be a part of it. Come in and offer to do a demonstration, offer to do a skill set and all this. And then communication is the next best thing that we'll add and ask for people to do, because you, as somebody who's watching this morning, or typically in attendance at our meeting, you're not the only woodworker that you know. So invite other woodworkers that you know to come along board with us and get involved. And it's as simple as getting on our email list. We do a lot of email through MailChimp. So if you want to be a part of it, go ahead and tune in, show up, be a part of it, contribute, and get on our mailing list. And then Walt handles our Facebook page to get the communications out there. So if there's something you'd like to share with the group, you can do it on Facebook, sending Walt the information. And Walt's going to talk about a new feature that we've just launched recently with Eric. Walt, tell him about the webpage.
We have a member in the guild that he's only been here, I guess, 2 or 3 meetings now, right? And
Yeah.
he offered to build a website for the guild, which is awesome. His name is Eric Sanchez. And Eric does have the website up and running now. It's kind of in its early stages, but with that, you can actually sign up to be a member on the webpage.
Correct.
So you don't have to worry about, a lot of times in the past we've had issues where somebody would go ahead and leave their email and it was misinterpreted somehow and they didn't get the emails for the meetings. And also this way you would go on the website, you would actually enter your own email. And that way there's no mistakes that way, but we'll have a calendar on there. We'll have some members directory on there as well. And we'll also have some of the shop tips and different things that we've talked about in the meeting. So it's going to be a lot better page now to be able to move forward. So
yeah, it's going to be a fantastic
I think it's going to work out
opportunity
great for us.
to step into the 21st century
And we
and
appreciate
get
Eric
connected
doing that
and
for us
give
because
people an opportunity to connect. So
that was long coming.
how is our audio coming through, Pilks? Can you see everything and can you hear everything okay? If you could make a note of that down below, we'd greatly appreciate it. Other announcements, Bob Betts, one of our members, just had another granddaughter day before yesterday. So
Hey.
Bob was all excited about that when I called and talked to him yesterday. He was pretty cool about that and excited about that. So keep Bob lifted up in that situation. And
Congratulations, Bob.
yeah, that's beyond cool. Yeah. At this point, we normally get into what we call our cool tool segment. So we're going to pull up a couple cool tools and show you something cool that you might not have seen before. And
Tim's got a lot of cool tools in his shop.
yeah,
we've got
we've got a few back here.
It's not counting the board in the front.
Yes. But one of the cool tools that we want to share with you today is grooving planes, making a groove in the board. And let's say you're going to make if I got a box here, you're going to make a box like this. You want to put that bottom in there. Well, how's it going to stay in there? You're going to put a groove inside to do that with. And there's a whole variety of ways to do it. I don't feel like firing up the table saw and the router table to do it this morning. So we're going to show you how to do it with hand tools. And this is the first one they're going to start with. This is a grooving plane. Good morning, Darlene. How are you? This is a grooving plane. And what's cool about this is it's an old-fashioned molding plane. Probably dates to the mid-1800s. And what I think is cool about it is it's got the fence on this side. It's got the skate here, the cutter in there, and good handle and all this kind of stuff. And the way to adjust these is obviously if I needed to make a deeper cut, I would tap on the cutter here and then wedge that in with the wedge here, go from there. But the way this works is real simple. The fence here goes up against the side of our board. Nice piece of cherry here. We're going to line that up, and I'm going to push a little bit of pressure down with my thumb, and my right hand here is what's guiding it up against that board. And I'm going to start basically at the end of my piece, and I'm going to work my way back. So I'm kind of going downhill here, making my way through that. And as I back up, I'm taking that light little shaving all the way down. Now, technique is something that's pretty critical here in that where I'm holding this and how I'm holding it, I have the plane and my wrist and my forearm all in one straight line, and those are directly behind us. So all my energy propelling this through the piece is coming straight down the line. I don't want to be off like this because then some of my energy is going off this way versus down the line. So I want to get right directly behind it and just shoot that right on through there.
That makes a nice clean line.
Boy, there is just nothing better.
That thing's awesome.
Than
So
those
quick as well.
cool little curls like that.
Very quick.
And it's only going to go down so deep because it's got the skate here, and on the fence there's basically a bottom to that. So it's only going to go down that deep. You're going to have it all the way through and have a real nice groove in there. All the way through. What I think is cool about these is this tool was around and available back during a time, back during the mid-1800s. So I like to think that the first person that ever actually owned this and used it was alive during the Civil War here in the United States. That's how old this has been. So the hands that are on this tool today were preceded by people throughout history and people that were around during the era of the Civil War back in the 1860s. People used this, so that's
so
pretty
cool
cool.
when you
First one.
pick up an old tool like that, because you don't know who's used it in the past, you know, and
Yeah.
what craftsmen had those, you know, those tools in their
It'd
hands.
be awesome to know
And
the
just to
history.
be able
of it.
to use that same tool that somebody used centuries ago.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
It's awesome.
Here's another version. Again, same time frame. This is just another molding plane, another grooving plane, and it's a little more elaborate. It's got a bigger fence on it. It's got this means of adjusting the fence in and out. It's got a depth stop in it and all this kind of stuff. So it's just another different way to do it. Look at how that cuts through there. It makes you appreciate what was done all those years ago. And there is nothing more therapeutic than coming down into the shop, putting in a nice piece of cherry, and just grabbing an old tool like this and go ahead and cutting the grooves and making these curly little wispies come off of there and stuff.
Now, there's two knobs on the side there, Tim.
Yep.
You can actually screw those out, right? So you can get that blade out farther out. So
you release the lock here, you release the lock here, and you can move this fence in and out to govern how far from the edge of your board your groove happens to be. Pretty ingenious way of doing that. And then these came with a variety of blades, and you could get that cut to be trimming as much as probably 3/4 of an inch wide. So you could do a whole lot with a plow plane like that. And again, that's old as dirt, and it does a great job.
Now, one more question on that one, Tim. There's no stop on that, right? So it only goes down, like on the 45, you have this little stop here where you can go down as far as you want.
With this one, there's actually a depth stop underneath here.
Oh, I see it.
And there's a lock on this side. You release that lock. And of course, I tightened it up so it's real tight. And then you can take that adjustment knob here on the top, and you can adjust the depth of that.
I see that.
That's kind of, so
I wasn't sure if that one had it. I know the 45s usually have them.
So that does have a depth stop on it. And you got to figure, way back in the mid 1800s when this was produced, that was high technology stuff.
Yeah,
that was
but high technology, but so simple.
The shop that had a plow plane like this had to be pretty serious and been doing pretty serious work. And the thing I get out of it is, if you can learn to sharpen and do a good job of sharpening your tools, and you set them up well, it can cut just as well today as it did 180 years ago. So let's step up a whole long time in history, and let's go to the Stanley number 50. This one has a patent date of November of 1903.
Wow.
So this has been around just a little while too. Same thing. It's got a nice cutter in here. It's got the skates that it's going to ride on. It's got the depth stop on this side, and we've got our fence on this side here, so govern how far away from the edge of our board we are. And we're going to do basically the same thing. We're going to set it on here, and we're going to go ahead and cut that groove. Okay. I set my depth stop a little too high, I believe.
Now there's multiple blades for that as well, correct?
Yeah, there's multiple blades for this too. And I must have set this down. No, I didn't get. I'm going to adjust that down just a touch. We can get that to cut. Well, obviously I didn't.
So you can see that over there. I know we don't have a close camera.
I didn't set my cutter very well. There we go. So we can fit that in there.
There you go.
Cutting way too much. I set that a little bit deep, but anyway, that's modern iteration of grooves.
But once you get them tuned in, I mean, they just work so great.
Oh yeah,
they really do. And they're so sensitive. I mean, like it says, you barely put any pressure on that, and you knock that blade down that far. And away it went. So
and away it goes. So yeah, so that's our cool tool segment for this.
Hey, I see old Kalea out there. Kalea, our good friend Kalea. Thanks for joining us, Kalea. Hope you're doing well and the family's doing well.
Yeah, our world traveling buddy. Where are you at these days, Kalea? Very cool, molding planes. Now, with that, the next thing on our agenda is show and tell. So let's do a shop tip instead, Walt.
All right. What's your shop tip today? What do we got? Uh-oh.
The one thing that is common with all of us as woodworkers, whether we call ourselves a woodworker, an artist, a wood artisan, a craftsman, a heavy-duty woodworker, an avid hobbyist, or whatever, and we choose the expression for our creativity that happens to grow on trees, what's the one thing that we all have in common, that we all have to deal with while we pursue our art? Sawdust, chips, filings, and all this kind of fun stuff. So what do we normally do?
Tim's got a new toy.
We take a shop broom, a bench brush, a shop vac, a blower, whatever. We get the air compressor out and run the air lines over to blow stuff out. But I've always thought there's a better way to do that, and somebody finally came up with it. That little bad boy right there has become the fan of my shop.
That thing's got some high beams and everything on it.
This thing will blow some sawdust around like you wouldn't believe.
Good gracious.
Blow all this stuff out of the shop. Send it all flying. Get it all out of the way. Hold on to your coffee, though, because it'll blow your coffee away.
I'm telling you, I should have put a seatbelt on my chair.
Yeah, so this is just the coolest thing. Literally, I went through the whole shop yesterday, and I bet it didn't take me 10 minutes to blow all the sawdust out of the shop. So this is a really cool thing. Go out and find one.
You know, I use two of those in my shop, right? I got one on each side.
One on each side. Yeah, there you go. And yeah, it's great for getting your beard dry too. So anyway, our little cool shop tip of the day is how to clean your shop up. The most convenient thing I've come across. I have hoped that somebody would create one of these for a lot of years. I wish I had thought of it first, but it's really cool. So a really cool shop cleaner up or blower outer thingy. So with that, our next feature, we're going to be talking about sanding a little bit. Sawdust and spending money. Okay. Oh, here, Kaleo, our buddy Kaleo is in Muscat, Oman. So he's out in the Middle East. How cool is that?
Cindy said she wants one to dust her house. Just duct tape all the small stuff down, right?
I had dust all over the shop yesterday because I had a mess in here. I took the sliding doors on my shop, opened them up, put a big fan in the door, and stood back in the corner and just let it eat with that blower and blew all the sawdust over near the door. I ended up sucking a lot of it up with the vacuum cleaner, but once it got into one pile, it made it a whole heck of a lot easier.
I can't believe how much power this thing has. I mean, this thing is huge.
That really cranks out and does a great job. So.
All right, so sanding, Tim.
Sanding.
What do we got for sanding today?
Our feature demo today.
My favorite thing to do
is going to be sanding, and again, that's one of those things we all have to deal with. So let's have a quick lesson in.
What brand is the blower? This is what is this? OGERY or OCERY?
Ogiri.
Ogiri?
Yeah, and what we'll do is
21 volt lithium battery.
We'll put a link to it in the description somewhere along here. We'll connect you up with that so you can go out there and find them. Again, a really cool tool. So one of the things that we all have to endure when we're doing woodworking is in terms of getting that final finish on a project is we like to sand the surface, correct? Let's grab a sanding block. We'll grab one of those. Let's grab our random orbit disc sander over here.
You got some paper there?
We'll use this one. Yeah, we'll just use this one. I got some paper here already.
Yeah.
So, you're brand new to this. You're standing in one of the box stores, whatever, and you're thinking, I know I've got to make my surface as smooth as I can.
Hey, you time your chat back up again. So.
Come on, there we go. You're looking at knowing that you need to sand it. You don't know much about it. What are you looking for? You got to have sandpaper, not because it has sand on it, because it's an abrasive material that'll abrade the surface of your wood and make it a little smoother. So what I would always recommend is there's a thing on the bottom that they call grit. It's a number here. And you can see it real small here. It says 80. And you can also see that I take my Sharpie and I write the grit size onto the back of my paper. So once it's been used a little bit, I'll still be able to see it and find it. 80 grit is what I always start with. And then I'll go to 120, and then I'll finish it off with 220. And all that alludes to is the size of the abrasive particle that's on the front of the sandpaper. And how it's determined literally is when they are in the sandpaper making factory, they have screens. And if they're looking for particulate sizes that'll fit an 80 grit, literally they have a square inch of this mesh, and it has 80 holes in it. So they got to be small enough to where, you know, there's 80 of them in that square, and anything that will fall through that is gonna fit on the 80 grit. If they're going to a finer grit, which is going to make smaller scratches in your wood and smooth things out better, they just make the number of holes in that sieve a lot smaller, 120. So stuff that will go through that size hole that would occupy a square inch of that mesh will fit on 120 grit paper. So it just alludes to how big the abrasive is and how coarse it would be. And 80 grit is typically what I will use, and I know Walt does too, for getting something initially smooth and making sure it's pretty flat, getting the planer marks on it, getting those out of it. And all sanding is really doing is dealing with and adjusting the size of the scratches in your wood. There's always going to be scratches in it. It's just a matter of whether you can see them and feel them or not. With this one, I can feel it's pretty rough from going through the planer. And once I've gotten the 80 through there, it's going to be a whole lot smoother, and it's going to take a lot of those ridges off of there. And one of the tricks that I know Walt and I both use is we'll take a pencil and we'll scribble all over the top of our piece of wood. And then I'm going to put my 80 grit paper on here, and you'll see it's got the holes in it. And they correspond to the holes here on our random orbit disc, which is basically Velcro is what holds it in place. We're going to line those up. Go ahead, Walt.
I was just thinking, you know, that you see a lot of people when they're sanding. I've had questions before on my channel as well, where they say, well, how long do you sand when you're sanding with one grit? And you know, that's the easiest method right there is to put the pencil marks on, because once those pencil marks are gone, you know you've touched that entire surface of the board.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so you're not endlessly just sanding till you have no wood left and then go to your next grit. So I mean, it's a simple way of looking at everything and making sure that you're getting all the pencil marks on.
And the pencil marks tell you where you are going and where you have been.
Exactly.
And the key to success with it, I have found, is get your sander, get it started, lower it down on it, keep it nice and flat, and just roll it across there at about 1 inch per second. It doesn't have to be any more than that. It can be a little less actually, but no more than that. It doesn't do any good to come in here and be going back and forth in a big hurry. It's easier and it's more effective and more efficient if you just take your time and go across there. And we're going to illustrate that here in just a second. I'll show you how we're going to sand this off. This happens to be my Merca sander, which I love. And it's connected to a dust collector, a vacuum on it, so it picks up the vast majority of the sawdust. If I'm not near that, I'll get the DeWalt version here, and it's got the collection bag here in the back. This picks up about 97% of the sawdust. This gets 60%.
You know, the good things, there's a lot of sanders like the DeWalts and all that they have now that you can hook up to a regular vacuum as well. Because that dust, you're trying to get all that dust out of the air as you possibly can. So.
Yep, cool. And we're still going this. I'm going to show you this and show you what we mean by just going across this. Again, I'm going to take it across here at about 1 inch per second, nice and slow, 80 grit, and you'll see what it's going to do here in just a matter of a minute.
Now that cleaned that up nice.
Look what that did in a matter of seconds.
Just one pass.
That's just one pass across there. And that's one pass at 80 grit. It got rid of all the pencil marks that were across there. what's the point in going back over it again and again and again and again? It's a complete waste of time. Once you've got it sanded to 80 grit, it's only going to be as smooth as the 80 grit will make it, or as flat as the 80 grit will make it. So there is no point whatsoever in going back over that again and coming back. It's completely pointless. It's a complete waste of time and energy.
So Tim, while we're talking about that, let's think about going over some of the don'ts when you're sanding. When people are impatient when they're sanding a project, we know sanding's fun, so they try to rush it. So what do they do with their sander, which is not a good thing to do?
They're starting to go back and forth like this, or they get it up on an edge like this and gouge it in, gouge it down, or something like that.
And that's what happens when people are doing a glue up, because they have that glue line, they got it cleaned up with a card scraper, and then they take that sander and they start rocking it in there. And then when they look at their piece later on, it's got a little hollow chilled right in the middle of it.
Got a divot in it because they're raising it up like this and going through and not keeping it flat.
So patience is a virtue.
Patience is a virtue, absolutely. And again, like I said, once you've gone across it, and the pencil mark is the tell on it. Once you've gone across there and done that one pass and you've gotten rid of it, it's not going to get any better by going over it 100 times more. It doesn't change a thing. So let's go back here and let's put the marks back on it again. And let's go to 120.
Now, you know, a lot of times when you have a board come off of a planer, for example, let's say it has a helical cutter head on it where it's a little smoother and it's a nice spiral head planer or what have you. A lot of times I'll just go to 120. I won't even go to 80. I'll just go to 120. I mean, I'll usually go to 80 if there's marks left in the board from the planer or saw marks from the table saw or whatever. But for a lot, I'll just go 120 to start. But a lot of times you need 80 just to kind of get it down to that. You know,
if you've got good results from your planer or your surfacer, and you might not have to go to 80, but let's go to 120 and do exactly the same thing. We'll show you that it'll take those off as well. We've put them back on there. We're going to go across this one time. And again,
nice.
Same result, one pass. I didn't have to go back over it again. I didn't have to do anything but that one pass across there, and that the pencil trick is what tells you whether you've got it done or not. And again, that's at 120. It's not going to change at all.
So let's while I'm thinking about that, Tim, I know we've worked on a lot of big jobs together in the past, and when you're doing a big cabinet, say you have a carcass piece that's this big and you're standing back and forth, you know, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll make their passes, but some people also go this way. And then what happens if you don't go back with the way the grain is, when you finish it, you're gonna see those marks that are up and down. So you've got to make sure that you kind of keep that grain going.
And if you're like overlapping, basically.
Overlapping, absolutely.
And going with the grain, sometimes people will go across the grain this way and then go back. And ultimately, particularly on your last pass, you've got to go with the grain on it.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna take this half of it off as well. Then we'll go to 220. And again, right there, a single pass across this, and that surface is clean. It's done. I don't need to do anything more with it with that particular grit. One thing that Walt just alluded to, though, is if you've got a wide panel, you're going to go down one row and come back another. Overlap that, gosh, sometimes 25, 30%, just to overlap it. Again, it just cleans it up and makes sure that it continues to be nice and flat.
As long as your finishing pass is with the grain.
Yeah,
because you know a lot of times people don't want to be going back and forth, so they're going this way. And then if you finish it that way, you know you can see it as soon as you finish it.
Let's illustrate one more time with. Let's jump up to 220.
Smooth as glass.
Smooth as glass.
Smooth as glass.
Let's take a look at something else here quick. Step out of frame and step back in. Here's a great idea too, a disc eraser. So if you've got a bunch of buildup from your wood, or if you're sanding finish off, whatever, and it gets on your sandpaper, and you can get these at like Woodcraft, Rock, or heck, you can even get them at Harbor Freight. It takes all that debris and it extracts it from your abrasives in there and keeps your cutter working real
Definitely
good.
save
So
some money on sandpaper that way, for sure.
your sandpaper lasts twice as long.
And same process on your belt sanders or anything else.
Belt sanders, yeah, exactly. So let's take this. Let's take the 220 off here, and we'll finish that out. And we'll go back and get the other half. Clean that.
Yeah, that's nice.
Let's clean that off. Get rid of all that.
So Tim, on the sandpaper, stepping it up, when do you know to go from? I mean, you go from 80 to 120 to 180 to. I mean, the process you'd use.
I would go increments as it's produced. There's ultimately there's 36 grit is common, 60, 80, 120, 150. You can sometimes find 180, 220. I typically go 80, 120, and 220, and I very seldom go beyond 220 because it's not necessary. And if you're going to put on a lacquer or a polyurethane type finish that are seal coats that go over the top of the wood, you've got to give that finish something to adhere to, which is the minute scratches in the wood. So if you burnish it too smooth by going up to 400, 600, 800, whatever, that doesn't have as good an opportunity to adhere to the wood.
Right.
If I'm going to use an oil finish like Danish oil or tung oil, where it's going to soak in and become part of the fibers versus laying on top of it, then you can go a lot higher grit to get it nominally smoother and then put that finish on there.
I think another thing too is what we're talking about putting finishes on. I don't do a lot of staining. Most of the furniture I make, I just basically go,
Same with you. I don't like
a different hand on rub finisher. But a lot of people that stain, I mean, a lot of people, they'll go ahead and they'll stain their last grit to 180 or 200 and say, well, the stain's not penetrating the wood at all. They're wiping it on. It's just like wiping it right off on a piece of plexiglass, So you got to start with that lower grit, maybe 120, 150.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, so you have a little bit of that grain left in the wood, so they can actually absorb the stain.
Yeah. If you sand it too fine, you're burnishing it, which is closing up the pores and not allowing it to do any penetration. So the last thing I like to do, my last coat is I'll always take a disc like this. I'll take my 220 grit, and I did it with my random orbit, so there's little swirly marks in there. I'll just take a holder like this or the old drywall sponges, yay by yay, and wrap it on, and just literally
soft, so you get around those edges. And stuff
and literally go with the grain, just so that if there are any residual scratches anywhere, they're with the grain, and it's a lot less noticeable. And in particular, if you're putting on a dark stain, that stain will sometimes get into those crevices, those valleys, and be a little darker. So go over it last thing with something that's going to go with the grain and keep it nice and smooth like that. And that's
a good process too, because when you're using that orbital sander, my last sanding, if it's 220, I'll usually hand sand everything.
Yeah.
And that way you go with the grain, you keep it nice and clean. Now, what about your edges, Tim? What do you do on your edges?
If I'm going to do edges, and I guess I should have put a piece on here that's got a rounded edge. If I'm going to do an edge, if I'm going to do it flat like this, I'll set it up in my vise, of course, because that's what a vise is for holding wood, so you can work on the edges of it. And I'll go across the same way, across that edge. Or if that's going to be end grain, we'll set it up and do end grain essentially the same way. And you can do this with your random orbit sander, but the problem with that is typically people will rock their sander back and forth, and it takes off a lot, and you'll knock these edges off, and it won't get as flat. So that's how I normally do that. And then if I've got a rounded surface, a profile on it, I'll take and I'll fold the sandpaper over like this, and I'm holding it like this, and then my fingers will conform to whatever that profile is, and I can bend them over that to get that profile and sand that profile.
You know, and I think, you know, a lot of times too, you know, and that's for people that do sanding. A lot of times if I get a board off of a planer, I'll use my number 4, number 5 hand plane, you know, or a 4.5.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and I'll clean it up with that. And it's so smooth that the next grit you go to needs to be like maybe 150 or 220 because there's nothing left to it.
Yeah.
Or like your end grain. End grain is so rough. I'll use this 60.5, you know, like a low angle plane.
Yep. Low angle
clean
blocking
it up
at the
and
end.
then just hit it with some 120 or with 150 or 220. And it saves a lot of time sanding. But again, you have to have a nice sharp tuned plane for that. A lot of people that don't have maybe a set of planes that way they can do that. So, but there's a lot of different ways to finish a board.
Okay, and here's a couple other hints on sanding. If you're putting a finish on, if it's a water-based or oil-based or whatever, or solvent-based, when you put that first coat on there, you're going to get little fibers that are going to want to stand up and pop up. Sometimes we'll call it water popping. What I'll do is I'll take a damp cloth, not wet, just damp, and I'll rub the whole surface, wipe the surface down, and it'll take those grains or those fibers and pop them up, make them stand up, and then I'll go back over and sand them one more time to get rid of them. So that way, when I'm applying my finish, the finish isn't popping those fibers up. So water popping is a great idea, sand it down again. But once I've got a finish put on, I like to sand a little bit between coats. And I use this, which is a Klingspor product, and it's called 400 grit lubricated sandpaper. Sometimes they call it stearated sandpaper. And basically, I don't know what the lubricant properties are, but it keeps the sanding and the sawdust stuff from balling up on your surface. And this, I'll take over and look. This is 400 grit, and the amount of pressure I'm putting on there is only enough to keep my hands from slipping off of it. I don't want to be digging into it and putting hard pressure on there, and I'll just literally go across that very, very light. I mean, I'm gripping the paper between my thumb and my index finger so I can continue moving it, go back and forth across there real light, and then I'll take a tack rag to it and tack it off to get rid of any dust that's come up, and then put your next coat of finish on it. And I'll do these between every coat of my finish, and you end up with just a glass smooth surface.
I mean, even when you pre-cat lacquer spray and stuff like that, you still just go ahead and knock that little bit of dust off, you know, and it makes it smooth as glass.
Yeah, it just gets it so smooth that you can feel the pressure of your hand on the surface, but you can't feel the surface itself because it's so smooth.
Just takes that little overspray off a little bit on the.
Okay, here's a good comment.
Yeah.
Mention the time frame that you're in and what time zone you're in.
Good point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Probably from our friend in Australia asking that. So lastly, what I like to use is I'll let my finish sit, and typically a day, whether it's lacquer or poly or oil, it doesn't matter, to make sure that it is gassed off enough to be real solid. I want all that gas going. All I want left are the solids on the board. I'll take a little piece of this 3000 grit sandpaper and just run that over that surface that last time. That's the last thing that's going to touch it. So if there's any little speck of dust or anything that has settled on that while the finish was drying and popped up, it'll just take that off. It is so fine at 3000 grit that it won't leave a visible mark anywhere on your piece, but it'll make that top just so incredibly smooth that you can't even feel the finish. It's just so smooth on there. Yeah, so
good final touch.
A little 3000 grit to end the party, 400 grit between the finishes of the coats of finish, and then 80, 120, and 220 going forward on that. If I'm going to do something like a Danish oil finish or a paste wax finish, then if I really want to go for shine, then I'll go up higher grits. You know, I've got some stuff where I'll go as much as 1200 grits sometimes. I mean, I've got stuff that can go a lot higher than that. I've got some soft pads that are 500 and 1000. The reason you can do that with oil finishes is because the oil is going to be absorbed into the wood itself,
right,
and it's going to become part of the wood. Whereas a polyurethane or a lacquer, are sitting on top of the wood, or a varnish sits on top of the wood, it's almost like wrapping your piece in a plastic bag. For say it sits on it, it doesn't become part of it, whereas an oil finish soaks into the wood, becomes part of the wood itself. So if I'm going to do a Danish oil or a paste wax finish, then I'll go a little higher on the grip. But again, it's not necessary.
Mike McVeigh, hey Mike, good to hear from you. He had a question about what about sand and groove? In a groove.
Oh, sanding in a groove? Well,
Thank you for the question, Mike.
We just happen to have
a groove
right here.
Good thing our first thing had to be with the
because we've been groovy this morning. What I'll do is if I've got to sand,
it took us 30 minutes to get the audio right, but other than that,
if I've got to sand in a groove, a couple of things that I will grab are a small steel ruler or a card scraper. And let's go to something easy here. I'll go to a 220 like this, and I'll simply fold it over my card scraper, and I can get right down in there, and I can sand those edges of it real easy. And then if I want to soften that edge a little bit, all I got to do is turn my piece over on its side a little bit, like this, and you know, whatever you can get. So I've got my groove here. I'm setting my piece in at an angle like this on the bottom of the groove on one side and the lip of the groove on the other side. And I can knock that edge right off there, just slick as can be. Yeah, if I've got a real wide groove or a dado that might be a 1/2 inch wide, then I can get a piece of stock out of my scrap bin that might be, you know, a 1/4 inch wide and use that the same way.
Right. I've done that with a cutoff too. You use a cutoff, just put the cutoff in there because it's already the same size, you know, or you know, they make so many different types of sanding sponges that you know that are pretty firm.
Yeah, but that's the way I do it. I hope that answers your question, Mike. That works out really, really well.
Speaking of sanding, also
knock those edges off.
Card scraper, that's also another good tool for you know, cleaning off any marks on a board too.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're gonna take off glue from a glue up, I don't know if this one is sharp enough to cut much or not. We're gonna find out in a second. Yeah, card scrapers are always good.
And it cleans it right up.
And this one's fairly sharp.
Tom brought up a good point also. A brown paper shopping bag also does a great job of knocking off any of the dust.
Yep. So that's those are things about sanding.
You know, and sanding is so important when you think about it. You spend hours and hours and hours building a project or a table or something, and finishing is so important. But if you don't have the sanding done right, you know, it can really wreck, or it can help or hurt your project, one or the other.
Yeah.
So.
Knocking off dust nibs with brown paper bag, that's always a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's what sanding is kind of about.
Have a dial for speed settings.
Yeah.
What speed setting do you recommend for various materials you sand, Tim? Softwoods, hardwoods?
Boy, that's a good question. What speed settings do you run on your sander? Let's see. I've got all out, giddy up and go fast, all out, giddy up and go fast, and hyper speed. Those are the ones
on sanders. For most on sanders, I'm usually somewhere in the middle just to kind of get started and kind of adjust as I go. It's a little bit different than like a router is a little different when you're turning a bit, but I mean a sander, I mean you don't want it so slow that you're basically using the sander as a hand sander.
And if you're working on a softer wood, you want to slow your RPMs down. If you can, you know, some sanders are fixed speed. Others where you can adjust that. You know, if I'm going, you know, all out full speed, and I've got something really hard and I'm not going to dig into it, I can be okay. But if I've got a softer wood, if I'm working on something that's got some pine or something like that going on, I'll slow it down quite a bit.
Right.
Just so I'm not digging in and taking off way too much material. So I would say the softer your wood, the slower you're going to want to turn through it.
Cindy, thank you for your comment. You need a close-up camera so we can see what you're doing. That's so true. We usually, when we have the meetings at the workshop or at the at other location, we usually use a small GoPro to show. But right now, we were lucky just to be able to figure out how to go live. So
exactly. So
hooking a second camera, we might have had to call our friend Wes for tech support big time on that. So, but that's a good point. So something in the future we definitely have to think about. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and thank you for Wesley Rose.
Yes.
He's the one that helped us get all this set up and do it. And Wes does most of the filming and the editing for my YouTube page, which is what you're on right now. So Wes Rose over there at Relaxing Woodford is a really cool site to take a look at too. And he's an incredible storyteller and filmmaker and does a great job. And he had a video out the other day. He was out with his 1948, I believe it is, Ford 8N tractor plowing the driveway. And it was just very cool, the setup and just the sound
I watched
of that.
that.
Cool
I was
over
mesmerized by it. Watched him drive around the property, pulling that plow and everything. And then he was like, "Well, I think I got half the rocks in my driveway with it." But
yeah, absolutely mesmerized. I sat and watched this. I sat and watched him plow his driveway for a half an hour. I grew up in Minnesota. I've done enough plowing snow and shoveling snow. I don't need to watch somebody else, but it was pretty cool. But anyway, big shout out to Wes for what he does in terms of helping
comment
us.
here. We got to figure out how to have donuts too. Well, we can have donuts here. We just
we
can't
can have
share
donuts. Yeah, we just got to do that. Let's see. Do you have the new web address? Walt, what's the new web address?
the new web address.
Up on the board. Up on the board.
Yes, the new web address, and it could be lowercase or uppercase. Where's it at up there, Tim?
Web page.
Oh, fxbgawg.com.
.com.
Again, F is in Fred, xbgawg.com.
Yeah.
And we have that up. Thanks to Eric Sanchez, we do have that up and running. It's in the early stages, but it's going to be a great tool for the guild. We can keep our calendar on there. We can keep a membership login page. New members can log in. Are you not seeing my posts?
Local beta, where you see my posts.
Haven't seen it come up.
Just don't know that we have yet. So, yeah, if you've got some questions or some comments on our adventure here this morning, please post them out there.
All right, there, local beta. If you throw it back out there again, we'll see if we can answer it for you.
And here's a good question you can help us answer. This is the first time we've really done this, our gathering on a live remote
Eric.
like this.
That is Eric. Okay.
Yeah, Eric's right out there. Good. So if you'd like to see us do this on a regular basis or include it as part of our live get-togethers and all, let us know that down below if it was worth it, if it was worth the opportunity for you to be able to see this and join us here this morning. Let us know, and if you would encourage us to continue to doing that, we would appreciate it. And then somebody else I want to give a shout out to, because he's kind of the one that got me on to the live stream side, and I know Walt follows him as well. But Daniel out there at Bearded Viking Woodworks, go out and check him out. He does a live video a couple nights every week, and he's really great at teaching people how to make small woodworking projects that they can sell and turn their hobby into a good financial resource for them, and a great side hustle. So Daniel over there at Bearded Viking Woodwork, great guy. Watch him usually at least once or twice a week.
Just has a live just about every night, a couple hours. He's just awesome to watch. He really is, and he has a great community of people that follow him. We really enjoy watching him, so I get a lot from him.
Okay.
What kind of
lubricated paper you use between grits or between finishes? This is a product that I get from Klingspor. You have to have a wholesale account with those guys, but it's their lubricated 400. They call it PS35, but it's a 400 grit, and it works great. And literally, those come in boxes of 50 sheets like that, and 50 sheets like that will last me about 5 years, literally, because you fold it over into quarters, you use it. And if it gets a little worn, it works even better. If it gets a little worn, you can put a little more pressure to it and all that. But that is a great product. I was turned on to that probably 25 years ago from a woodworking finisher. So great stuff. Find Klingspor on the internet and talk to somebody there about setting up an account if you can, and go ahead and get it from them. I also am a big fan of their hook and loop 5-inch 8-hole paper. It works really good, and from what I have found, I just have success with it. I don't like going to the big box stores and buying red sandpaper. I'd rather use Charmin.
Cindy, family? Get to see my brother.
Yeah.
Hi, Cindy.
Yeah, my sister's out there watching from Minnesota, out there
Yeah.
where it's cold. So
Well,
that's what our guild does. We typically have the meeting after the meeting. If you're looking for any particular hand tools, antique, user, collector hand tools, we typically have one or two guys show up that are dealers there. We have Rick Long, who's out of Richmond, Virginia, who runs the Richmond Antique Tool Society down there, and they're having a big event coming up here on February 12th down in Richmond. It's a big tool auction, donation auction to support their organization, and people bring a lot of neat stuff in there. And you can get some killer good deals at their events. And a perfect example was their, November meeting?
Yeah.
I was needing a new dado stack for my table saw, and Walt and I had gone down a little early, so we could go to Woodcraft. But more importantly, we got to go to Joey's for a hot dog.
Yeah, that's the best
on
part.
Broad
Joey's
Street in
hot dogs.
Richmond, and went over to Woodcraft and looked at the dado stacks there, and they had a really nice setup there. It was like $110, and then I was thinking, we're going to a tool auction. Let's wait, and maybe after the tool auction, if there's not something shows up there, we'll go back to Woodcraft and get the one there that was marked at $110. Well, doggone if the one didn't show up at the auction. And this is an auction of antique tool collectors and users. So this modern day tool didn't garner any attention whatsoever. So I bought a brand new, really good quality, nice router or dado stack in the original box and everything. I don't know for certain that it had ever even been taken out of the box.
Right.
I got it for $5.
$5.
I was real happy with that.
And what was funny when we were in Woodcraft, Tim goes, "Let me wait till I get to the auction. Maybe I can get something for $5." And there it was.
There it was.
And what's funny, there's never a dado set there. You know,
Only time
usually,
I've
I
ever
mean, it's
seen
always
one,
old hand tools.
Yeah, but lots of neat tools and stuff there. Lots of great guys. You can learn a ton, and they're more than willing to help people out with learning about antique tools.
Yeah, and that's Rick Long, and he's the president for Richmond Antique Tool Society. And Rick does a great job there. He's been running that group now for 20 plus years now, I guess, close to 30 maybe.
It's closer to 30.
Yeah, and just about every tool I have on my hand wall behind my workbench is from Rick, and he does an awesome job getting those prepared and great prices. So if you haven't checked him out, he's usually at our meetings. So obviously, you know, if you're ever at one of our meetings, you can always check him out there too.
Yeah, cool. So our next gathering will be on March the 7th, again at 8:30. And depending on the feedback that we get from this, we'll see if we want to go live with this in addition to our face-to-face in-house gathering and all. And we'll go from there. And our featured presenter and subject matter at that event is going to be Ed from the Woodcraft store down in Richmond and Virginia Beach. He's going to come up and talk about what's new in the woodworking tool world and what's available at their fantastic resource down there, which is Woodcraft. So stay tuned for that. And unless you've got further questions, I think we're about ready to wrap it up today. I think this was pretty successful. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Next RATS meeting Thursday, February 12th.
February 12th, 2000, yeah. So go on richmondantiquetoolsociety.com and you can find the directions for that, or text Walt or I, and we'll see about getting that information to you and maybe see you down there. So Mike Osborne, how you doing, guy? Good to see you out there.
Thank you, Kaleo.
All right, thanks, Kaleo.
Any shameless plugs? DreamWorks Woodshop.
Yeah, DreamWorks
Check out my
Woodshop,
YouTube
man.
channel. I'd love you to come by and check it out and see. It's mostly I do mostly furniture and fine woodworking, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. You know, Tim and I go back and forth with this YouTube and everything, and it's a great opportunity to get some stuff out. So
yeah, and that plug again. Go to DreamWorks Woodshop on YouTube and check out Walt and his site. Walt has the most enviable woodworking shop that you will ever find.
That's why I have two of these.
Yeah, the guys from Woodcraft comes to Walt to see how it should be done in terms of setup and what tools to have. It's immaculate, and it's just gorgeous. And Walt does some incredible fine woodworking there. And
Thank you, Tim.
in addition to being one of the founders of our Woodworkers Guild, been around for an awful long time, and just a great guy and a great site. He doesn't post a whole lot of stuff, but we're working on him with that. And it's incredible, neat stuff. He does a great job of videoing and editing, and has just an incredible shop. So check out Walt at DreamWorks Woodshop.
Manassas Guild meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, the Manassas Woodworkers Guild gets together at 3 o'clock this afternoon, so you can find them on the web as well and on Facebook. So a bunch of great guys up there holding down the fort in the Manassas area, about 45 miles north and west of us here. So they do a great job too.
That's a good thing, though, about having the different guilds in the different areas, Northern Virginia, D.C., Richmond, and all that. So we all we all talk on a regular basis. So that we always share each other's meetings, and it's nice.
Yeah, and their get together is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the address in Manassas is 8911 Weems Road in Manassas. Wayne Foscue and the guys up there doing their thing to promote the woodworking world and keep this habit, this addiction, this hobby, this avocation, this job that we do alive. So with that, I do believe we're going to sign off and call it a day. Again, that meeting starts at 3 o'clock up there. So we're going to call it a day. We're going to thank you for tuning in. Spread the word on what we're doing here with the Guild, and
check out our webpage and our calendar. We're going to try to get it updated.
And if you'd like to be on our emailing list, there's an opportunity through the webpage to sign on to put a name and an email address in there, and we can migrate that over to our MailChimp email system and get you included in all of that. So go over to that webpage, check it out. It's new, it's fresh, it is in building mode at this point, but it is launched and out there and available for you. So check it out, leave your email address out there, so any events that we have come up, any opportunities to communicate to you, we can go ahead and do that for you. Last comment here is the basement of the Nativity of Our Lord Orthodox Church in Manassas is where you'll find their meeting going on this afternoon. So with that, until next time, thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for joining us today.